Do you know what stops your growth? If you don't know, then the answer may surprise you. Tune in and find out.
You are listening to the Prosper at Law podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper at Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. I'm Greg McCollum here with another edition of the Prosper at Law podcast. Thanks for joining me. If you've been working in your law firm and you're doing good work, and you're being a good lawyer, you're being a good, I want to say business owner, but I think if you're not getting anywhere, you're not being a good business owner, and you probably are not even a business owner. So that's probably not the right way to phrase it. And I've talked about this many times, and the reason I do is because it's so real and it's so prevalent. What stops your growth? Or a better way of saying it is probably what prevents your growth. And everybody knows, I think it's Einstein's quote, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if you've been practicing law and you're a good lawyer and your clients like you and the prosecutors respect you and you do good work, you get good results, and you hit a plateau, and your business hasn't improved, and you look around at other businesses and think, well, I'm just as good as they are. I'm better than he or she is. I'm better at handling cases. I'm maybe more respected as a lawyer. So what's going on over here? Like, why is my business not growing? And that's also another point is your business growing? And do you know whether your business is going up or down? Do you know that yearly? Do you know that quarterly? Do you know it monthly? Or in my case, I measure it weekly. If you're not measuring it, and you're like me years ago when I didn't know how much money I was making. I knew I was paying the bills or struggling to pay the bills, but I really didn't know until the end of the year when the accountants did my taxes and then filed my taxes, and I could look at it. And my only measurement was year to year. And so what do? And even the tax return, it has a comparison from last year. So if I made, say, I don't know, $240,000 that year, and I looked at my other taxes and I only made, $199, then I was like, oh, I had a good year. But I didn't have that framed. I didn't have it framed in the sense of what's my percentage of growth. And I had no clue as to how I was going to grow with the, coming year, the year I was entering into, because I didn't have a plan, I didn't have numbers, and I wasn't measuring anything. And honestly, it's kind of embarrassing, but I didn't even know you could grow. I thought that once I got out of law school and became a lawyer and got good at my craft, that I really thought it just came down to fate, blessing me or touching me. And I firmly believe that I would have good years and bad years. And I'd read this stuff. It says, well, you're going to have good years and bad years. You're going to have good months and bad months. So, hold some money in reserve. And while certainly things go up and down, and that happens, but there's also an enormous amount of control that I have over that. And by control, I can't control all of the factors, but we can control what we're doing. And so if you're not moving forward, there's a reason for that. If you're not growing, there's a reason for that. I would actually say there's several reasons. And there are things that are going to prevent growth, and there are things that are going to cause growth, but only if you understand them and if you do them. For example, if you look at or feel like, why can't I get anything done? Why Why does my life seem like I'm overworked and I don't have enough time to do anything? And you look at the work that you're doing, if you're like me, then this can be extremely confusing because we're taught the wrong thing. We're taught, well, do a good job and success will come. But it's not true. You do a good job, you do a good job. One client's happy, one client knows about it, and so maybe they go tell somebody, maybe randomly they run into somebody one day and they refer somebody to you, and that's good. But it has really no impact. I think about, the cases where I was in trial and I did a really good job, and the people in the courtroom, the court staff, the bailiffs, the clerks and stuff, they'd come up and compliment me, okay? Maybe even the jurors would compliment me after the case, but then that's it. Who saw that? No one saw that. That had very little impact. And I considered working like, okay, what's work for a lawyer? It's working on a file, it's going to court, it's negotiating with a prosecutor, it may be trying a case, it's maybe meeting with your client and reviewing evidence to see if does this client want to take this plea deal or to keep negotiating or make a decision that there's no way we're going to accept this and we're going to trial, versus the other things. And the other things, I did not consider them work. Everything other than working on a client file, I thought was a waste of time. And I thought that doing anything else was going to take me backwards. But it's the opposite. The other stuff is the work. The other stuff is the growth. For example, if you look at your law firm brand and you say, well, my name is, John T. Smith, attorney at law, and you're thinking, what does that tell the audience watching? John T. Smith, attorney at law, or John Jones Law Firm. There's no message there. There's nothing there. Somebody would literally just take the website out of consideration, but somebody would literally have to call you with a legal problem and ask you if that's a practice area you have. So this is, the most basic thing. Whereas if you had, Jones Injury Firm, okay, now you're an injury firm. That's something. And so then if you started thinking about, what should that look like? You're going to create a logo. So let's say you're going to create a logo, which is also going to be on your website. It's going to follow through that if you have a sign, if you have not letterhead, but you have things that identify you, then that's going to go on there. If you're doing social media videos and things like that, then that logo is incorporated into that. So something as simple and easy as a logo. Before, if I were going to work on that, if a marketer or somebody says, well, we need to work on your logo, then I would pretty much almost just do everything everybody else does, which was just let somebody else do that who's really not really that qualified. And when you look at logos and you look at those things, most of the logos I see are terrible. I don't know why they're terrible, but most logos that I see for lawyers are terrible. Even the cute ones and the good ones are terrible. And I was looking at a sign because we're in the process of we're going to be moving our office, and I was looking at the sign because signs are regulated, and so I was trying to figure out if this sign where it's located, where it is historically, if that will be okay, because I was looking at the other signs on the street, and they're all in a line, which means there's some setback. So perhaps I'm grandfathered in. I don't know. So I was looking at a sign actually in a friend of mine's building because he has his duplex and these people have the other side. And 60%, 70% of this other lawyer's sign is his logo. And it's this kind of tower thing. And then below it, it has the name of the law firm. So 60% of that sign is wasted. It does no good. And the logo is what I see all the time, is where they took his initials and kind of put it together in this clever way, and made this thing out of it, okay? But, I mean, you really have to be as interested as I was to even look at it, to even understand it is his initials. And it's cute, and somebody made a good design, but it's absolutely worthless, okay? Because it does nothing. So getting back to what I was talking about, and I'm not saying that logos rule the world. I'm not saying that you fix your logo, you fix your law firm. Nothing could be further from the truth. But what I am saying is this is a detail that's important. And if you get this right, maybe not the first time, but you get this right eventually, where your logo is readable, it says what you do, it's attractive, you decide the colors, you decide the font, you decide all of that, then once you fix that, that also gets layered over and transferred to basically everything you do, because you repeat that over and over and over on everything. So it's on your website. If you run ads, it's on your ads. If you have a billboard, it's on your billboard. If you have an office with a sign, it's on your sign. It's on if you have, your pens, your stationery. Not that anybody uses that anymore, and everything. Now that's fixed. It's readable. It says what you do, and then it's layered onto everything. So that's something that's important. And if you get that wrong, every time you do anything, whoever's doing the graphic work for you is going to ask you all the same questions. They're going to ask you all the same questions for the rest of your life. And everything you print is going to be some kind of their default. It's not going to be consistent. And somebody could even look at it and not even recognize it's the same company. So in this tiny way, that's important. So the point of this is, for me, is I always thought that if I were working on something like that, in other words, if that took me a couple of hours a day, a couple of days a week, and then the process of getting that right, maybe it may take, say it takes 6 months, 6 weeks. It could take 6 weeks, not where you're working on it every day, but you're addressing it, you're answering questions, you're making choices, maybe you're getting some feedback. So this is a long window of to get anything right. And so if you view that as that's not making you money, if you view that as that the when I work on this file, especially if you think in terms of hourly billing, if I work on this file, I'm getting paid, I'm bringing in money, versus if I work on this logo or this other thing, I'm wasting my time. That prevents your growth, because these other things are extremely important and they have to be done. An example I give you in my law firm is, first of all, thankfully, I have a lot of really good team members. And that's another, I've done podcasts on that. That's another issue, is how do you identify them? How do you get them? How do you train them? So suffice it to say, I have a lot of really good team members. I've got a lot of what I call A players. And one of those A players is this young woman named Fatima. And Fatima is very talented. She if you go to our TikTok and watch her TikTok videos, they're terrific. I think we have some of the best TikTok videos and some of the best TikTok video campaigns of anything I've seen. Now, I'll temper that by saying, like, I spend 0 time on TikTok, okay? I know what it is. My daughters told me about it 10 or 15 years ago. They were on it then. I watched it one time. It was like a Sunday afternoon. I turned it on, and then I looked up at the clock, and I think an hour and a half had gone by. And that was about the last time I looked at TikTok videos. But I've seen enough, and even the thumbnails, what you see when you just look at the beginning of it, ours are better. Ours are branded. Our message is there. The people on my team are in the videos. And so Fatima understands this formula of the, what do they call I think it's a trend. It's either a theme or a trend. I think it's a trend. So something's trending on TikTok, so she will go and do that theme or that trend, and then put her little stamp on it. The other thing she does is she's got a cinematographer's eye, and she's an editor, and so she takes these shots, and with the sound of the, like the Halloween one was the eerie music, and then everybody's dressed up like a ghost, and they're moving around, and sometimes they're moving, then they're frozen, and you have the music. She just does all that instinctively, and she's terrific. And every time we have our marketing meeting, I tell her, and we have a marketing and sales meeting every week, not just with her, but with the whole marketing and sales team. And I tell her how terrific she is, okay, in front of other people. And one of the things that was happening is when I first had her do this, she wasn't staying on a schedule. Some of the other, like one of my lawyers, he didn't feel comfortable with TikTok. It was kind of beneath him because he's a very dignified, serious lawyer, which I respect. So he just doesn't feel comfortable doing those things. So with the ones he does is basically him sitting behind a desk looking like a boring lawyer explaining, stand your ground law, which also actually brought in a case. And so for TikTok, we really only leaned into this. This is right now, when I'm recording this is November. And we really didn't lean into this until the past, really June probably, maybe even July, because we had started it about a year ago, but we hadn't really become consistent and constant with it. And so I'm pretty sure, maybe more, but I know we've gotten 2 big cases. We got 2 felony cases off of TikTok. And the people watch it because it's funny, it's interesting, and then we pitch in regularly some information. So you learn some stuff about that you wouldn't know about getting arrested, about being stopped on a DUI, about if you need to defend yourself. So those are sprinkled in just enough, and Fatima understands the formula. But what was happening is, we have a busy office. And so, when the phones start ringing, it's like a fire drill, okay? Because everybody understands, and the people that take those calls and the people that do those conversions and the people that give out that information to the potential new clients that are calling, it's a fire drill. It's all hands on deck. And so in that environment, she doesn't feel like, she should be pulling people away from work because it's fun and she's good at it. And who would pay you to do TikTok videos, right? What a perfect job. So she doesn't see it, as work, like work in quotation marks. And so when I talked to her about staying on schedule, she said, well, this happened and that happened, and this was more important than the TikTok videos. And I said, wait, just stop right there. Stop right there. Us going to court, us signing up new clients, us answering clients' questions, that is no more important than your TikTok videos. So I want you to get on a schedule. I didn't tell her exactly what the schedule was, but I said we have to have a cadence. They have to be released regularly. They have to be consistent and regular. And so if we're going to do them on, say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, release them at the same time, the same day, and we're going to do that forever. We're going to do that into the future. And that's important. The other thing is get your shooting schedule, okay? Figure out when you shoot TikTok videos. And I can't remember, I think it may be like 11 o'clock on a Thursday or something. I let her pick the date. And that's when it happens. So no matter what else is happening, that's happening at that time, all right? Now, we do have other people that maybe aren't in the video that can still take new client calls. and the office still works because I have enough people there. But that has to be done. It has to be done consistently. And there are other examples of this, things that are the only reason my business keeps growing, the only reason my business survives, the only reason my law firm does what it does is because these things are stress. So that's TikTok. That's just one thing. Now, another thing is, our main office is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we have an office in this town called Summerville outside of Charleston. And between us is Georgetown. Well, it's a smaller town. And so we finally decided to pull the trigger and get a physical office there and move in. So in that situation, to get a Google pin for the Google My Business, or it's what they used to call it. They keep changing the name, but it's Google My Business, googlebusiness.com or whatever it is. You have to be verified because otherwise you won't be found. So the verification process has changed over the years and it's more complex. And now you have to literally shoot a continuous video for a period of time, and it has to make all these elements or you cannot get verified. And so I've done this myself because in Summerville, which is 2 hours away, I went down there with guidance from somebody helping me. And I think I went down there 3 times before I got it verified. But it's worth it. And that's what I was telling Fatima, because she went with somebody else that works for me who owns other businesses in her family. So she's been through this. And so I said, okay, you two go do it. And they're like, well, do you need us both to go? Because it's an hour to Georgetown. It's an hour back. They're going to be gone for 3 hours. And so they see that as loss of productivity. And I used to see it as loss of productivity too, but it isn't. It's essential. And so they went down there. They did it right, but Google wouldn't accept it. So they're all disappointed. I go, this is what it takes. Schedule a time, get back down there. Don't feel guilty because you're not, quote, working. Okay, because they're driving to Georgetown, talking to each other, living it up. They probably stopped and got a Starbucks. It doesn't feel like they're working, okay, because they're happy. They're doing something they like to do, so they don't feel like it's work. But I said, this is work. This is as important as anything else that we do. So that's the lesson. And I'm out of time, and I can't go through everything that I would like to go through here. But I will say this, that in order to get out of your schedule, you've got to have the calendar and the habit. The calendar rules the habit, and the habit changes the result. Consistency over time is what will move you forward. It's what will change your law firm. It's what will change your life. Habit. But you can't have a habit if you don't have a calendar, because the calendar blocks it. Everything else has to bounce off of that calendar. That's on the calendar. That's it. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen consistently over time, and that will change your results. And then you won't be insane because you won't be doing the same thing over and over expecting a different result. You'll be doing different things which will cause a different result. Okay, I'm out of time. I hope you enjoy this. Greg McCollum, Prosper at Law. We help criminal defense lawyers get more time and make more money and have less stress. If you're interested in talking to us, you can go to the website, prosperatlaw.com, and just click a button that says schedule a call, and I'll be happy to talk to you. Okay, thanks for listening. See you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.